Pasteur University in Seattle, the oldest educator of natural health in the nation. Welcome, friends, and thank you for joining us for this free webinar, Essential Oils and Natural Ingredients for Healthy Aging and Skincare. This webinar is brought to you courtesy of Pasteur University Continuing Education Department in collaboration with Jim Harrison, cosmetologist and certified aromatherapist. My name is Susan Collins, and I am the Manager of Programs for Pasteur Continuing Education. Jim Harrison offers training in aromatherapy and essential oils for professionals and the general public. If you're interested in becoming a certified professional aromatherapist or just want a natural healing therapy tool in your belt for your family, please visit our website at pasteur.edu, continuingeducation.com, and there you'll find more information about Jim's classes, the dates and schedules, and other programming information that you might be interested in. He offers CEUs as well as other quality advanced education opportunities at Pasteur University. So about Jim Harrison, Jim founded the Phytotherapy Institute in 1995 to advance education in essential oil and plant therapy. Jim is a published author and has conducted certification programs and lectures in essential oil therapy for natural health, massage, spa therapy, aesthetics, and medical institutions across the country, including Harvard University, Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, and Harvard Medical School. Jim is a leading authority in aromatherapy and natural skin health. He has helped to pioneer nutritional, holistic beauty programs. Jim is an expert formulator and has customized essential oil systems for spas and resorts, formulated essential oil products, and has developed professional and retail organic nutritional skincare. Jim Harrison is the author of Aromatherapy, Therapeutic Use of Essential Oils for Aesthetics, and he has developed and teaches essential oil and aromatherapy certificate program for Pasteur University here in the Continuing Education Department. Let's welcome Jim Harrison. Aloha, Jim.
Hello there, Susan. Thank you for that introduction. This is my area. This is where my passion came from for as far as natural health and healing was through skin, and so I'm kind of excited about presenting the skincare portion of this webinar series and how essential oils work into healthy skin and actually overall health, which is all about healthy skin as well. So let's get moving on with this one. Let's look at essential oils as far as an overall view of why essential oils in relationship to skincare. And so we're going to talk about essential oils for youthful skin because it just seems to be the thing that most people think about skin is I want youthful skin. And the other terminology for that, healthy aging or just healthy skin, is really what we're looking for. And so essential oils offer I like to use the word luxurious healing because there's a certain aesthetic and a certain feel and a certain mood and quality to essential oils when it comes to treating the skin. So they really do have a luxurious healing and protective properties for the skin and for beauty health. Properties go beyond just what you find in any kind of store-bought product, including all the natural ones that are coming out. You know, some really good products that have entered the marketplace for skin health and naturally based skin health. But without the essential oils, they're kind of limited because they don't quite have the holistic properties that essential oils offer. So that's what I'm going to introduce to you today is how to enhance a really, really healthy, good quality, natural base skincare line with essential oils to just, take that to a whole different level. So that's what we'll be looking at. So essential oils for skin health. The properties that essential oils offer are anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, cell regeneration, antimicrobial, and detoxifying. This is pretty much what you want to have in any skincare product. Inflammation is one of the more damaging things that happen to your skin, and inflammation causes so many other issues, including acne and wrinkles and rashes, and just so many skin conditions are actually the root of the cause is through inflammation. Antioxidant protection. So free radicals, as we know through any kind of health program, that antioxidants are extremely important because free radicals damage cells, which damage many other organs, and so there's this whole cascade of imbalance that happens in the system when you have free radical damage. Same with the skin. So internally, you need to have antioxidants. Externally, you also need to have antioxidant protection. And essential oils offer a really powerful antioxidant protective coating to the skin. Cell regeneration. What we're talking about here is support for healthy cell regeneration. The cells, if they are healthy, are going to regenerate in the best way possible. It's just our biology that cells want to do the right thing because that's what they are. It's when there's interference that the cells have an issue or become damaged, and then you have unhealthy cells, which in skincare is going to show, or in the skin appearance, it's going to show as unhealthy skin. So regenerative properties of essential oils have a lot to do with the protective properties that they have, and also support for the healthy metabolism and healthy regeneration in the structure of the cell. The antimicrobial properties. Essential oils in general are known to have powerful antimicrobial properties: antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal. And these are all conditions that can damage skin. Sometimes it's not apparent that there is a parasitic microorganism that's affecting the skin. And so if you're using a daily regimen of skincare that has essential oils in it, you're naturally going to be protecting from damaging microorganisms. So that's another really beneficial property with essential oils. When it comes to something like acne, acne is very much influenced or caused by the bacterial infection that goes along with it. So having an antimicrobial property to an acneic skin program using essential oils is extremely beneficial and actually necessary. Detoxifying properties of essential oils. When the skin is not functioning properly, just as when the body is not functioning properly through whatever the condition is, and there's many that can cause these factors of congestion, either in the tissue, in the lymph, in the blood. So having a detoxifying property in your skincare is going to help eliminate any kind of congestion that occurs in the skin, and the essential oils, they're on it, they'll do it. This is something most skincare formulas do not address, is stress and emotional balance. Essential oils, I like to think of them as one of the most holistic tools that you have in your medicine cabinet because of that stress-reducing, emotionally balancing property that they contribute to your regimen. Now, the essential oils work physically. They have all the properties that I just talked about: anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial, cell regeneration, etc. But it's the stress-relieving properties and the emotional properties that really take essential oils that one step further in what your skincare actually needs, because stress, anxiety, tension, emotional imbalance causes responses through the body that affect the skin. And I'll talk a little bit about that as we go along. But you want to have in your program something that will also affect central nervous system, autonomic nervous system, and even thought process, because thought can have a negative effect. Or I should start with a negative thought can have a negative effect on the skin, just as positive thought would have a positive effect on the skin. And so essential oils can help create that balance between negative and positive thought and stress relieving and anxiety relieving properties. Let's take a little look at just a little part of the skin here. In my skincare class that I do through the certificate program, which is Module 5. In Module 5, it's skincare, and all we talk about is skin. I go to an in-depth look at the structure of the skin, because you need to understand the structure of the skin in order to understand how to use essential oils, or really how to use anything on your skin. You have to understand what this is that you're putting it on. But for now, I want to introduce the lipid barrier function of skin, which is extremely, extremely important. So what we have in this graphic that I have here is the epidermal layer of the skin. So you have a dermal layer and then an epidermal layer, which is a very thin actually it's really 4 layers except for the thicker parts of the skin have 5 layers of very, very thin layers of skin. But it's extremely important that this is a healthy layer, the epidermal layer. And what the structure is you have a growth from living cells to dead cells, and it's not really correct to think of them as dead cells, even though they aren't regenerative living cells, because the importance here goes, the dead just doesn't work, okay? It's your cuticle layer, it's your protective layer, it's like your hair and your nails, it's keratinized cells. And so they aren't living, reproducing cells, but they are important to have a healthy keratinized cell structure on the surface. So you go from living cells that through each step change their function and what they do in the epidermal layer until they become the keratinized protective shell that we have on our skin. During that process of going from the living cells to the keratinized cells, there's a structure being built during each one of these steps, and it's creating lipids and other compounds that form what's called a lipid barrier. Now, it's not the oil that we think of when we think of oily skin. That's sebum. Sebum is a layer of it's actually a waxy fat that forms a layer on the skin, and that's the oil. So if you have oily skin, you have a fair amount of sebum on the skin. If you have dry skin, you're not producing enough sebum to give that nice, healthy oil coating on the skin. Now, within the skin cells, so what it is at that keratinized level, it's almost like brick and mortar. The keratinized cells of the brick and the mortar is the lipids that are formed in that process. And what those lipids do is they form a barrier that allows things to get in and out. Now, what it allows to get out is moisture. And so your lipid barrier controls your moisture level in your skin, which the moisture you get is internal. So drinking water, fluids, you have to have good moisture content internally in order to have moisturized skin. And the lipid barrier controls the evaporation of how much moisture is left within the skin. So it's very important that the lipid barrier is left intact, because if your lipid barrier is damaged, your skin can become dehydrated and dry because you don't have that control going on. The other thing the lipid barrier does is keep things out. And it keeps most things out. And this is an area that's extremely misunderstood. You hear it a lot in the natural cosmetic industry, and also in the safety of cosmetic. There's blogs and there's organizations and people who are out there talking about the safety of cosmetics. What they have said in that is that 60% of whatever you put on your skin is absorbed, and that's just not true, because we'd all be dead. Your skin barrier is there to protect from things getting into your skin that don't belong. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't absorb different compounds when they're put topically on your skin. You do, and some of them, yes, can be detrimental to your health. Toxic is the word that people like to use. But that's how that works. It's a lot more complicated than what's being put out into blogs and the press and everywhere else. So come to my class, the Module 5, do the certificate program. I explain what really goes on in there. And there's also a misunderstanding of how much essential oils absorb. We don't absorb every essential oil you put on your skin. I can put a straight essential oil on my skin. I will not absorb all of it. A lot of it evaporates. The lipid barrier is controlling how much it allows to get in. So there's only certain compounds and certain parts of the oil that are able to penetrate. So the lipid barrier is really, when it's functioning, is a very protective layer of things we would like in our body and also things we don't want in our body. So we have to understand how the lipid barrier works in order to understand what actually gets into our skin. But the topic for today is skincare. So I'll talk a little bit about what you need to do internally, but what we can do on the surface is powerful. So it's not necessary for things to penetrate to be healthy when we're working topically on the skin. So I'm going to explain how all that works. I'm going to explain a little bit more about the importance of the lipid barrier and how we can support that through a healthy skincare formulation. So let's look at the healthy diet for healthy, youthful skin. Because if you're not eating properly, nothing you do on your skin is going to help. That is the illusion that's actually been sold through the cosmetic industry for many, many, many years and still continues. And in a way it challenges the feel of what a natural skincare formula does on the skin. Let me explain that in a second here. But first, let's look at what you put into your body counts for what happens on your body, meaning your skin. So a whole food organic diet is extremely important. Variety of colors. It's the rainbow diet. So go to the produce counter and just look at all the colors there. All those colors represent nutrients in the food that are extremely beneficial for your overall health, but also extremely beneficial for your skin. Primarily, what you're looking at here are anti-inflammatory, antioxidant foods, just like what I talked about, the beneficial properties of essential oils. Very important for the skin, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant. So you need to have a good variety of foods in the rainbow diet. So it's these same phytonutrients that are in the foods, all these colors that we're looking at in that graphic, that are beneficial for the skin. And we also used in supplements, and I do recommend supplements because it would be great if a healthy diet just did it all. And I know that there's some advocates of food can do it all, and I'm totally on board with that. My approach is that unless you're just living in a pristine environment, and I don't know where that's left on this earth anymore, it's very difficult to get all of the protection from food in the way that my approach is. Especially if we're living in urban environments, I do think we need supplements. We need a little bit extra protection from all the environmental imbalance that's going on with the pollutions and the toxins, and with all the, if you're on the West Coast, you're dealing with a lot of smoke, and that's very damaging to your health and to your skin. So we need extra protection, and that's what I do recommend supplements. Now, the phytonutrients that are in the food, the phytonutrients that are in the supplements, these are also things that I recommend for topical skincare. I wrote an article years ago for a trade magazine called Skin Inc. magazine, and the title of the article was Whole Food Approach to Skincare. I think that's what the article was called, but that's what the idea was. And years ago I started developing this when I was teaching in aesthetic schools and teaching skincare professionals and scientists about what it takes to make healthy skin, because the focus had always been externally. This is what cosmetics were all about. And so the cosmetics were creating compounds that would make the skin look good. A lot of them are petrochemicals. So this is what I was just saying earlier, is that in cosmetics they were creating formulations, and the formulations were designed to give the appearance of healthy skin. And so what they were doing is they were creating formulations, mostly with petrochemicals, that would fill in little crevices and wrinkles in the skin and give the appearance of very healthy skin. But that was just fillers. It wasn't really healthy skin. Once you take that off, your skin is what it is as far as healthy or not healthy. And so these formulations really didn't do much on the skin. They talk about active ingredients, but when you really look at what active ingredients are and what they're doing, it was pretty limited. The real work was coming from that illusion that the skin was looking healthy. So what my approach was to take instead that formulation and put nutrients into it, but not just nutrients, put food, whole food into it. And that meant when I go for olive oil or avocado oil or all these other oils that are so good for your skin, I want them in the whole, not refined. I don't want colors taken out. I don't want nutrients taken out. I don't want odor taken out. Because if you take color out, well, take color out of a carrot, what do you have left? It's all the beta carotene that we talk about being so good, right? So color is important. If you take odor out, well, think of an essential oil. You take odor out of an essential oil, what you have is air. You don't have anything. Odor and color are important. So when we talk about the ingredients that go into your skincare, they should be whole, as in your whole food diet. It should be whole food skincare. This is the approach that I started teaching years ago, but nobody at that time was really doing it, and this is how I ended up starting to formulate skincare. I became associated with a woman who was doing skincare formulas and trying to figure out how to get it to the next step. So we worked on this together as far as bringing nutrients in. Now you actually see more whole food type skincare in the marketplace. So it's over the, 20-year period or so that I started working on it, there's been a lot of development. So you can find really good formulas out there, and I'll talk about some of the ingredients to look for as we go along here. And so, well, I'm going to do that right now. So full spectrum skincare. That is the terminology I like to use, because just like a whole food diet, just like whole health, holistic health, you want to take care of the skin on every level possible that you can do topically, and you can pretty much do everything topically. So we look at the formulations that you can do here based on the botanical oils. Now the botanical oils are similar to eating the whole food as well, except it's just a portion of that whole food. You know, I like to say that you should be putting berries and salmon. You know, salmon is the perfect face food. Take a salmon, right? Just buy some nice fresh salmon and just rub it on your skin, and it's just perfect face food, or not. Let me explain how you can put salmon on your face in a second here. Botanical oils. I mentioned avocado. Blackberry seed oil. I like blackberry, cranberry, raspberry seed. These are really, really beautiful oils to use on the skin. Now, when I first started developing skincare, these oils were only available through the supplement industry. And the reason they were available in the supplement industry is because of their balance of omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acid. Omega-3 is especially important for the skin, just like it's important internally to have a good amount of omega-3 fatty acids. That's where the salmon comes in. Okay, so we're not going to squish a salmon on your face. We will get our omega-3s that the salmon would offer through our berry oils, blackberry seed, cranberry seed, raspberry seed. Really, really good balance of omega-3 fatty acids. Calophyllum anophyllum is an oil that I have here. Some people list that in an essential oil, but it's not an essential oil because it's not distilled. It is a fatty oil derived from the fruit of this tree. And the Calophyllum anophyllum has an odor to it that's a little challenging, but because you don't need much, because of the concentration of the nutrients in there, you don't need much, but that offers vitamins and fatty acids and really dense fatty acids that give a nice coating to the skin. Coconut oil. I like to use the coconut oil that has not been refined at all, and that's the fractionated coconut oil. You're seeing that a lot. And fractionated coconut oil is good if you want something that doesn't go rancid and doesn't have an odor. But fractionated coconut oil does not offer any nutrients for the skin. It really doesn't have a value for treating the skin in a healthy way. So you want your coconut oil full on, that nice solid, so at room temperature it gets solid, and that can be challenging in skincare. I'm always trying to figure out what the balance is between my coconut oil and other oils so that it doesn't become solid, except when I'm shipping across the country in the wintertime and people get their stuff and it's like, you know, really solid around the dip tube, and I'd say just heat it up a little bit. So, you know, there are some minor inconveniences when it comes to using real food, whole food ingredients in your skincare, but, you know, they're minor, and it's well worth what you have to do to have good skin. Lecithin is a beautiful thing for the skin, and I get that from a non-GMO soy, and I get the organic lecithin because there is a synthetic, and there also is these lecithins that are derived through a chemical means, and those aren't the ones you want to do. Now, lecithin is a phospholipid. So I was talking about the lipid barrier, and what I'm doing here by talking about these botanical oils is I'm talking about a system that I put together that mimics the lipid barrier. So the lipid barrier has phospholipids, has free fatty acids. It also has sphingolipids, which I don't have in the list of botanical oils here. That would be ceramides, which is an ingredient you can get in skincare. So what I'm doing here is I'm trying to create a formula that would mimic the lipid barrier. It also has to be able to sit within the epidermis, so you don't want it sitting just slippery, slimy all over the top of your skin. If you use whole food type ingredients, unrefined, they tend to harmonize better with the skin. So they don't feel oily. They feel more like it's part of what your skin should feel like. And so that's all about formulation when you're using these ingredients. Rosehip seed oil, also beautiful with omega-3 fatty acids and other fatty acids that are incredibly healing. There's some really good evidence on rosehip and wrinkles and reducing scar tissue. Really beautiful oil to use. And then shea butter, there's lots of different butters, mango butter, you can get a list of butters to use. Shea butter is one of my So let's move on to the herbals. Herbals are so good. We have listed green tea and aloe juice, but there's lots and lots of different herbals to use. I'm going to just run through this real quick because I want to get to a couple of recipes to show you how we can do this. Hydrosols are really beautiful. You can get straight hydrosol and use it as a toner. Nutrients. I put isolated nutrients sometimes, like vitamin C, I'll use, but I use the ester C, which is a fat-soluble form of vitamin C. Vitamin E I use in almost everything because of its antioxidant properties, not only for your skin, but also to protect the product from oxidation. Omega-3 fatty acids, you can get those in isolated form. I prefer to use them in the whole form in the berry seed oils. And I've used alpha-lipoic acid, niacinamide. I have a list of nutrients that I like to use in skincare. So you can get really advanced in your formulations. And then the essential oils. The essential oils, we'll talk about that a little bit more. And supercritical extracts. Supercritical extracts are a different form of extracting the essence from the plant. It's done with a supercritical form of carbon dioxide. And you get some of the volatile compounds that are in the essential oil, but you also get some of the nutrients that you find that don't evaporate to end up in essential oil, but they are color nutrients that are in your food. So supercritical extracts are excellent to incorporate to get that whole food aspect to your skincare. Sea buckthorn oils are really good CO2, and astaxanthin, which is on my list here after the essential oils, is the red color that makes salmon red. It's actually a carotenoid compound that's extremely antioxidant, also anti-inflammatory, and also offers some sun protection to your skincare. I do a whole routine on sun care just using botanicals, and I've taken my pale bald head out to Hawaii. Testing in Hawaii is always a good idea, and I found it to be extremely effective as a skin protective from the sun. So CO2 is essential oils. Now, what you'll learn in my classes, especially you come to Foundations, which is that one's coming up January 19th if you're coming to Seattle. Foundations class, that's the introduction to the certification course. I do introduce this graph that I have here. It's the structure effect diagram. So this is how we learn chemistry. Chemistry is a good thing to know when it comes to understanding how to work with your oils. So on this graph, you're seeing these circles. Each represent a group, okay? So that top green group, it says inflamed and sensitive skin. If you have inflamed and sensitive skin, the groups that you want to choose from are that blue group, which are the sesquiterpene hydrocarbons, and that big green group, which are esters, also stress relieving. So when you work with the chemistry, you can really understand how to incorporate the chemistry, which then you know what compounds are in your oils, you select your oils, and then it gets really specific. Really powerful skincare can be done by using the chemical compounds for balancing nervous system, regeneration, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, all the things that we need to do. So when you're choosing essential oils, you can choose them based on chemistry, and you just want me to tell you what oils to use, right? So if you want to do it from esters, it's Roman chamomile. One of my favorite oils, which you can't get anymore because of drought in South Africa, is Cape chamomile, beautiful oil for skincare. In the sesquiterpene compounds, you have German chamomile and any of the blue oils. Those are sesquiterpene hydrocarbons, good anti-inflammatory compounds. So synergy. Combine the anti-inflammatory with the stress relieving, which are the esters, and you have a holistic already with antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and balancing to the central nervous system. Really good stuff. So, okay, take a picture, or if you're going to get this, if you signed up, you're going to get this in your email, so you don't have to take a picture. Here's a formula: vetiver, copaiba, helichrysum, German chamomile, and lavender. Now what I've done is given you percentages, so if you do it in grams, you just do 19% of whatever gram weight you're going to do total. But I've also given you a drop formula for 30 ml formula, whether you're doing it in a cream or in a lotion. And this is a good anti-inflammatory. Vetiver is a really nice viscous essential oil that will give a nice coating and protective layer to the skin, as well as being anti-inflammatory. Also has some cell regenerative properties. Copaiba, another good cell regenerative anti-inflammatory. So we're doing a synergy here of oils and compounds. Helichrysum is like the queen or king or whichever gender you want to give it. Anti-inflammatory. It is the anti-inflammatory oil to choose. It's also one of the most powerful cell regenerative oils out there. It alone in a lotion will help reduce scar tissue and wrinkles. It's incredible. It goes in all of your skincare. German chamomile, one of the most powerful anti-inflammatories, and then lavender just does it everything. I mean, so you throw lavender in any formula, it's going to be great for your skin. Central nervous system helps to relieve. We know lavender is calming. It has anti-inflammatory properties, has cell regenerative properties, good anti-inflammatory properties. So it's just an overall excellent oil to use. Now, as a carrier, you can use 70% of the shea butter, 20% coconut oil, and then 10% rosehip seed. That's going to give you a creamy base. If you add, take the 70% of shea butter down and maybe do 50% of something like olive oil, what you're going to have is more of a lotion. But you need to heat up the shea butter and the coconut oil and then put that olive oil or whichever oil you want to use. So you can kind of flip that around from being creamy base to being a lotion, and that will give you a good anti-inflammatory cream. Let's look at a cell regenerative lotion. Cistus, which is Cistus lantaniferus, sometimes it's called rock rose. Beautiful oil for cell regeneration. It's also a good vein tonic, so it helps blood supply to the skin as well. Sandalwood oil, and I say sandalwood, but that's become a generic term because we have Australian sandalwood, we have Hawaiian sandalwood, we have the Indian type sandalwood, which I do not recommend buying from India because it still is not legal to export it from India. So whatever sandalwood you're getting from India, it can be a real sandalwood, but it's always going to be questionable. So it's best to use either the Australian sandalwood or there's a new sandalwood that is the Indian type, Santalum album, that is being produced sustainably in Australia. That's a beautiful sandalwood oil. Then helichrysum shows up everywhere, and for skincare, lavender will also show up often in skincare. And then palmarosa. Palmarosa is a relatively simple as far as its complexity as an oil, but it has powerful cell regenerative properties and really good antioxidant properties and antiviral properties. So a good addition to any skincare formula. And it's relatively inexpensive, so it's a good oil. And then I've put that in a base also, same thing. Drops is for 30 mils, the percentage is for whatever amount you want to make. And this is more of a lotiony formula with sunflower seed, avocado oil, rosehip seed oil, and sea buckthorn CO2 extract. With the CO2 extract of sea buckthorn, you're getting some powerful carotenoids as well as some unique fatty acids. It's really excellent for skin, the sea buckthorn. I'm going to give you a little more information on stress and emotional balance. It's not just the central nervous system when we think about stress. It's the autonomic nervous system. It's the fight or flight response we want to reduce. Fight or flight causes inflammation. Inflammation causes cortisol release and other issues when you have that inflammation in your body from the autonomic response or the fight or flight response. And what that can do is it can create an issue within the skin that stops some of the compounds from being produced that form the lipid barrier. So people with eczema notice that when they're stressed out, the eczema gets worse because the lipid barrier is already compromised in eczema or any kind of topical rash. And when you're stressed out, it compromises the lipid barrier even more so the skin is more open to microorganisms and inflammation and everything else. So you have inflammation causing this situation, but you have inflammation as a result of the situation as well. So you really want to reduce any kind of inflammation in the body, especially if it's produced by stress and anxiety. So you want to reduce fight or flight response. You can do that with a couple of different oils. Most of them smell licoricey and they don't always work in skincare, like aniseed and fennel. But a really good oil to use if you want to get to that reducing the fight or flight response, raising rest and digest mode, which is parasympathetic mode, it's cedarwood. And the one that has the highest amount of the compound that does that is the Virginia cedarwood, which the plant name is Juniperus virginiana. I also recommend using the Atlas cedarwood, which has a more pleasant, sweeter aroma. So here's a list to reduce inflammation. Roman chamomile, well, through stress and anxiety. Roman chamomile, good for both central nervous system and autonomic. Lavender, ylang-ylang, rose is just use rose, use rose, use rose in everything. Clary sage, marjoram, spikenard, Atlas cedarwood, which I've already mentioned. So here's a formula you can use for the stress relief and skin health. It's sandalwood, vetiver, ylang-ylang, geranium, marjoram, and rose. And I'm going to just breeze through this because I want to get to some questions. This is just an overall really good formula for not only the central nervous system and anxiety, but also for fight or flight response. So it's a great holistic formula that reduces stress, reduces anxiety, raises parasympathetic rest and digest mode for healthy skin and anti-inflammatory action in the body, and also has in its formulation antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, cell regenerative properties, protective properties, and it smells really good. Rose, ylang-ylang, how can it go wrong, right? Therapeutic base, very simple. Jojoba oil. Jojoba oil is really good because it's a waxy lipid, just like the natural sebum of the skin. So it harmonizes a lot more with the natural sebums of the skin, and it also doesn't go rancid because of that. So it's a really good formula if you want something that sits around for a while, if you're not going to go through it real fast, and also good for perfume, which perfumery is a great way for skincare as well because it reduces stress and anxiety if your formulation is done that way. So is there anything else in there that I want to tell you about? Probably not. I think I want to get to some questions here. I think I'm on. Can I hear you guys? Hi, Susan. Let me let's get to some questions, and actually, let me tell them about some dates first, just so I can get that. So if we go over, but yeah, coming up, like I said, is a foundations class, which will be the next one is coming up January 18th. I mean 19th rather, here in Seattle. But before that, we have a holiday essential oil class going on, and it's just a free workshop. We're just going to hang out and we're going to play on how to do formulas for the holidays, and it's really fun. It's a process that I've created years ago, and you're going to like it. November 8th, here at Bastyr. So you can check out the Bastyr website, or just contact me or Susan at Bastyr. Do I have that? Yeah, I do have that up there. And so that's coming up November 8th. November 10th, we have the chemistry class, but you should have taken foundations in order to do that. And then December 8th is properties, but we'll be repeating all of those. So January 19th is the next foundations. Chemistry will be following that. So now, do we have any questions?
Yes, Jim.
I have answers.
Natalia. Hi, Natalia. Natalia wants to know what you think about animal fat in skincare. For example, pork lard, which is structured, which structure is very close to the structure of the human skin sebum.
You know, the only issue I would have with animal fats is they tend to be too saturated. So depending on how they refine them, you know, if it's refined to a certain texture, it might be okay. I don't know how it would smell, so they'd have to deodorize it. So you know, quick answer is yeah, it's going to be fine because of that it is, you know, it is similar to what goes on in the skin, but it really is going to depend. It's kind of like what I said about kind of squishing salmon on your face. There's some fragrance and texture issues that go along with that. But I think, you know, as far as you know, I don't see anything negative except for those two pieces. So go for it.
Well, it could probably go rancid too, right? But I think
and really, it should go rancid because of, you know, with the saturated fats that are in it. You know, no more so than any other oil that we use.
Okay. Let's see. Ray Aladina. Hi, Ray. Asks about probiotics in skincare.
That's something I haven't talked about much, but yes, excellent. That's, you know, we know about the healthy bacteria in our gut, right, in our flora that we need and is necessary. We hear about that all the time. It's not mentioned too much in skincare, and it's starting to become a little more in the conversation because of the antiseptic and antibacterial lotions and skin washes that people are doing, which I don't recommend at all. And so, yes, probiotics in skincare would be extremely beneficial. I'm not sure if they've really come up with the right composition of bacteria, because it really does have to be the bacteria that naturally is on our skin. So there is some things that have to be looked into. It can't just be any old probiotic, which would be a marketing thing to put it in there and say you got it, but we have to make sure that it's benefiting the skin in the right form of bacteria. But yes, it's a good idea.
Okay. Jennifer. Hi, Jennifer. Jennifer Lombard, thanks for coming back. Jennifer wants to know, what is in cedarwood, in parentheses she says Virginiana, that helps to switch to parasympathetic mode?
The compound is called Cedrol, C-E-D-R-O-L. It is a sesquiterpene alcohol. And it's in most cedarwoods, but in the highest amount, I think it's about 9 to 11% in the Virginia cedarwood. It may be in the Texas cedarwood, which is Juniperus mexicana. These aren't true cedarwoods, by the way, but common names don't really matter that much. And it's also in certain distillations of cypress, but you'll find it the most in the Virginia cedarwood, the compound Cedrol. So you can look up your chemistry of your oils and check out and see if there's a Cedrol content. But that raises parasympathetic activity, and that was just some random study that came up when I was looking for something else. So I was really happy to hear that, because I like to use cedarwood in my acne blends, because inflammation due to fight or flight response is a big part of what causes acne.
Well, you might want to stay tuned for Jim's next aromatherapy webinar on November the 9th, where he talks about essential oils for meditation and yoga. So there might be a little bit more information for you there. Thanks for the question. Gabrielle Jensen Machado asks, hello Gabrielle, what has Jim C works best to tame cystic acne?
Wait, ask me that question again. What?
Gabrielle wants to know what oil works best to tame cystic acne.
Cystic acne is one of the more challenging forms of acne, and that's the one, when I see that in somebody's skin, I immediately go to central nervous system, autonomic nervous system. And so the cedarwoods that we just talked about are ideal, because they're not only really good for lowering the fight or flight response, raising parasympathetic rest and digest activity, but they also have good compounds in it for cellular regeneration. Now that's where the Atlas cedarwood, which is Cedrus atlantica, it's a true cedar, that one is really excellent for the regeneration of the skin cells, and also anti-inflammatory. And the Virginia cedarwood has some of the compound, which is a ketone, that this Atlas cedar has for regeneration, but higher amount of Cedrol. So it might be a good idea to combine it for cystic acne. I would also do something that's purifying. So either grapefruit or tea tree is always good, because it has the antibacterial properties and also the decongestant properties. And so you want anti-inflammatory, you want autonomic nervous system balance, central nervous system balance, and cell regenerative properties, and some detoxification properties. So I already talked about cedarwoods for the anti-inflammatory and also the autonomic response. Tea tree, eucalyptus, there's a long list of oils that would be good there for detoxification and also antibacterial properties. And then, let me see, anti-inflammatory did that. Detoxification would be grapefruit, lemon, any of those oils would be really excellent. Helichrysum would go in this formula as well, and there's such a long list. I like the oil also rosemary verbenone type. Verbenone type is a higher ketone type of rosemary. And anybody that knows what they're selling would have their rosemary oils listed in chemotypes or CT, verbenone, CT cineol, etc. So it has the rosemary properties that would help be detoxifying and antibacterial, cineol being one of those compounds, but also higher in verbenone, which is a cell regenerative, good skin conditioning compound. So the rosemary verbenone I was also add in there.
You have time for a couple
Yes.
more questions. Amber, shoot. Hi, Amber. She says, hey there, I'm wondering if you could talk a bit about citrus oils and phototoxicity. She says that she thought that cold-pressed citrus oils were phototoxic, but there's something in her chart in her Tisserand safety book that says there's a handful of non-phototoxic citrus oils. I hope you know what that means.
Yeah, there are. So phototoxicity is, it comes from a certain compound. Bergamotine is a compound, it's furocoumarins if you want to get into chemistry science, but it doesn't really matter. You need to know what oils those are in. Bergamot is the main oil to avoid if you're going to be out in the sun. Bergamot is a beautiful oil for skincare because of its stress relieving properties over most of the other citrus oils. It has higher ester content, but it also has the highest content of the compound that is phototoxic, and the phototoxicity is a compound that causes a reaction between UVR rays from sun or tanning beds and the skin, so it can cause brown spotting in the skin and in more extreme cases severe burning to the skin. So bergamot's the oil you have to avoid. Just avoid it, don't use it in skincare. The other oils are lemon and orange that have, Tisserand does list them as avoiding them. I'm kind of on the fence about that because, I mean, if you're living in Seattle in the wintertime, you really don't have to worry about it because, we're not going to see the sun until next June. If you're going to be out in the sun, yeah, I would avoid, direct sun for exposure for quite a while. Quite a while, meaning an hour or so. Lemon and orange and grapefruit I would probably avoid, but I wouldn't necessarily be afraid, like for what I was just talking for acne, if you're just going through your daily routine, if you're not going to be really exposed to direct sunlight, and in the wintertime, it's really not as much of an issue. So lemon would probably next on the list for most phototoxic, and then orange, and then grapefruit. Grapefruit's the one I usually use anyway. Lime is sometimes listed as being phototoxic, but I've actually had that in formulas that, for me, I've been directly exposed to the sun, and it's in certain instances, yeah, I would probably avoid lime, but not necessarily. And then the rest of the citruses seem to be fine. I use yuzu a lot of my formulations, and that's a Japanese fruit that's similar to lemon or orange, and that really has a low content. Another oil you should be aware of is angelica root, which is an oil that has, and the seed I believe also has a different coumarin in it than what the citruses have, but is also phototoxic. So you want to be careful of angelica, definitely bergamot, and then there's caution with lemon, orange, and grapefruit if you're going to have direct exposure. There's so much confusion with essential oils. This information comes out and then it becomes a big scare. But we don't need to be afraid of these things. We just need to be aware and educated, and that's come to my class, and that's where I teach about not being afraid, about being knowledgeable. There's a big difference between the two.
Mm-hmm. And one more question, Jennifer Lombard. Hi, Jennifer again. She wants to know if Hawaiian sandalwood essential oil is being produced sustainably in Hawaii.
Quick answer, yes. Is it have a long-term life? I don't know. What's happened is that there's been a handful of producers that have been working on this and trying to create a plantation that is sustainable. Now, where it takes 30 years from planting to having a tree that you can harvest for essential oils, 30 years. You have to destroy the plant in order to get the oil. So that's where the sustainability issue comes in. There are people who are trying to create other methods where you don't totally destroy the plant and other things like that, but to get the best oil, that's been the game forever. Now, how long will that oil stay available? I don't know, because it really depends on how much people are buying and how many trees have been planted and the timing that they did. And if they, in Australia, this started in 1993, I think is the year, and they started creating a plantation of that Santalum album, which is the Indian type of oil. And so they're just now producing the oil. I think it was last year or the year before. So this is from 1993 to now. And it's a very big plantation where they have a very large sustainable source of essential oil. I don't know I haven't been to the plantations in Hawaii. I've talked to the people and they talk up a good story, but I find it questionable as to how long the supply will last. It may go up and down, but as far as what they're doing it in a very environmentally, ecological, perfect way as far as the sustainability.
Okay.
And it's a really nice oil.
It is. I love
Yeah.
I love the oil. It smells so nice. So I think that's it.
All right.
Oh, Jennifer, you've got another question. You have time for one more question? We have time for one more question. Okay, so what's the, Jennifer wants to know what the main difference is between Santalum album and Santalum paniculatum.
Different species, and it's just like any tree. And this is a good thing to understand when you're doing essential oils. Is there's a genus, which is Santalum, and then the species. And so, there's several species of the sandalwood. I can't remember what the paniculatum or it's not in my memory bank yet. That's the Hawaiian sandalwood. It produces a different oil. I mean, they're similar trees, but they produce very different oils. Now, the sandalwood oils, you have spicatum, Santalum spicatum, which is the Australian, and then there's this Astra caledonium, or I can't remember the name of the species name, coming out of New Caledonia, a species of sandalwood. And they all have a unique composition, though in this case they have very big similarities in the santalol and that sandalwood-like composition. So they're very similar. And the Hawaiian sandalwood is the one that has the higher content of santalum. I mean, the santalol, which is a compound that smells like sandalwood. And so that one is going to have a richer fragrance than the one we call Indian sandalwood, which is the album, or the Australian sandalwood, which is the spicatum. And so they have just variations that go on. Now, when you get a eucalyptus, this is where sandalwoods are very similar. Eucalyptus can be very different. You have a eucalyptus genus, so it starts with eucalyptus, just like Santalum is a genus. And then you have a Eucalyptus radiata, which is very common eucalyptus smelling. But you also get one that smells like lemon, and it has very little to do with the same kind of chemical structure as radiata. It's Eucalyptus citriodora. And so it's really good to understand plants and where the essential oil is derived. When it comes to the sandalwood, there's unique variations, but they're all very similar and can be interchangeable in therapeutic use.
Okay, Jim, that looks like it's it for today.
Cool. Well, thank you guys. Always a pleasure.
Thanks, Jim.
All right.
Come back again sometime on November the 9th for more free webinars. Tell your friends. November 9th. Tell your friends, tell your family, Twitter, tweet, fly, get a pigeon, whatever you can word to help us get the word out about Jim's free classes and his other classes on essential oil therapy. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks.